Well, my friends, it is 100% that time of year again, as OnePlus is getting ready to release their big flagship device in the OnePlus 15, and every day, honestly, I feel like we're hearing more and more information about this device. We're hearing about a completely brand new design, a crazy 165Hz display, and apparently it's going to have one of the biggest batteries ever for a flagship device in the US at an absolutely insane 7,300 milliamp hours. And hey, newsflash by the way, that's over 40% larger than some of the most expensive flagships like the iPhone 17 Pro Max, the Pixel 10 Pro XL, and even the Galaxy S25 Ultra, crazy enough. When it comes to this phone, there's just so much happening here that could make this a really strong contender for Phone of the Year in 2026 based on what we already know right now. But on the other hand, it seems like OnePlus killed off some of the aspects that made it really unique, which kind of takes away from the excitement a bit. Regardless, there is a lot to talk about with the OnePlus 15, so please sit back and relax as we go over all the major changes you need to know about, because it's shaping up to be a pretty big update overall. First things first, we need to talk about the biggest, most noticeable change right from the jump, which is the design. This aspect in particular, we've seen the most about by now, and based on these first looks, it seems to have gotten a complete overhaul from last year's phones. Out the gate, I really just have to say it, I unfortunately am not a big fan, as it seems like the OnePlus 15 lost a lot of character from last year's phones. We no longer have that massive circular camera module, it no longer has the alert slider, and from what we know right now, there is no longer any unique materials like that faux leather on the OnePlus 13. Now, in my opinion, it effectively looks like an iPhone 16 Pro Max, and the opinions I've seen, at least anecdotally, seem divided right down the middle. Some people either love or hate last year's circular camera module, and they either love or hate this new iPhone-like look. Personally, I do 100% acknowledge that a redesign was probably much needed after about 4-ish years of that previous look, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's a bad thing that they did this redesign. I'm just a little bit disappointed as the end result removed every bit of character that I know and love from previous flagship phones. I was one of the first very few people that got their hands on the original OnePlus One back when it was invite only, and I loved their weird bamboo colors, and it made the greatest impression on me still 10 years later, and was definitely one of my favorite phone accessories of all time. Then the second generation brought in that legendary alert slider, which immediately made the phone unique and set it apart from anything else in the Android world. And now that is also gone, which takes away from the unique character as well. Apparently, and what we've seen so far, it's going to be replaced with a multi-purpose button called the plus key. With this, I have to be consistent and I have to keep the same energy I did when nothing removed the glyphs in exchange for the dot matrix display. Objectively, the plus key will be much more useful as it's multifunctional, unlike the previous alert slider. On one hand, it will be mainly focused on AI, as it can save screenshots or voice memos to OnePlus's digital organizer app called Mindspace. Based on what we've seen with the OnePlus 13S, it functions very similarly to the Essential Space and the Essential Key that you have on Nothing phones, where you have a one-tap access to everything you saved using that dedicated key. Thankfully, you can remap this to do system functions as well, so it won't be a useless button for you if you're not into AI, thank God. So, as you can see, a lot is going on with the design philosophy for better or for worse. There's definitely going to be some kind of adjusting, but ultimately, the design is the least of my concerns as long as the hardware and the software are good, which in fact does seem to be the case this year. Hardware-wise, we have a lot to look forward to, as we are seeing the usuals here with the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 chip, 12 gigs of RAM, and 256 gigs of storage. Again, all things we expected from a current gen OnePlus device. But in regards to the display, OnePlus is bringing to market something I have never personally gotten the chance to use, which is a 165Hz refresh rate display. This is something I was immediately so excited for, but reading some of the conversation online, it seems like there are so many people dismissing this, and I'm not exactly sure why. It's worth keeping in mind this change is probably geared more towards the Chinese market. Mobile gaming is really popular in China. It's safe to say it's the largest mobile gaming market in the world, and I think this feature has a particularly strong appeal there versus the US, so maybe a lot of dismissal comes from that perspective, but for everyone else, this should be a really exciting change. If you're a gamer, you should notice supported games will feel much smoother. There will be smoother on-screen motion, reduced input lag, especially for games with a lot going on like Delta Force. This should in theory be perfect for you. But even if you're not into gaming, day-to-day interactions like scrolling through social media, swiping home screens, and opening apps should be incredibly fluid as well. Scrolling through web pages or articles should look smoother too. And on top of this, it's simply a good future-proofing feature to have as more and more apps and games support this higher refresh rate. To me, there is no better feeling than having my current hardware be ready for upcoming changes, and I can easily see more apps supporting these ultra-high refresh rates in the coming years. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see in the flesh if these benefits are tangible, but I'm happy to see OnePlus is trying something new, and I will 100% be looking out for it once I get to try the phone myself. Unfortunately, though, there is a downside there as the resolution is getting bumped down from 2K to 1.5K, so it's a slightly lower resolution than last year's OnePlus 13, but to me, I think I find way more value in those extra 45 frames per second. Personally, I always felt 1080p was more than enough for phone screens, and I never had really any issue at all using my devices at that resolution. Even on the Pixel 10 Pro XL that I'm using right now, I run it at 1080p with no second thoughts at all. But that is a compromise that you will have to weigh out on your own. And that's the big news when it comes to the display, but another huge area OnePlus actually made some big changes is with the battery. A few days back, OnePlus officially posted the specs, and as was rumored, we are getting an absolutely massive 7300 milliamp hour battery, which seems to be one of, if not the largest for a mainstream flagship phone available in the United States. For a bit of context, it has a 50% larger battery than the iPhone 17 Pro Max, a 46% larger battery than the Galaxy S25 Ultra, a 40% larger battery than the Pixel 10 Pro XL, and it's 35% larger than the OnePlus 13 from last year. Which, man, if it comes to the United States with this full battery capacity, good effing job, OnePlus. This is an area that so many consumers, especially in the Android world, have been begging for, and you seem to answer the bill here, which I am so thankful for. It's also expected to support 120 watts wired charging, so you can hopefully top up that massive cell in 45-ish minutes like we have now, and 50 watts wireless charging. So that massive 73,000 milliamp hour battery paired with the apparently more efficient Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 chip and their super fast charging, and maybe, hopefully, some efficiency improvements with OxygenOS 16, we might be looking at the undisputed king of smartphone battery life. Of course, a massive battery still has to power a very demanding 165Hz display and the latest, most powerful chip from Snapdragon, so we'll have to wait and see, but so far things are looking really good on the OnePlus 15. Probably the only real big flag we have to look out for regarding this device is the camera. As you've probably heard a million times by now, OnePlus has officially ended their partnership with Hasselblad. This originally began with the OnePlus 9 series and was meant to focus on color science and software tuning, but now they're using their own in-house technology called the Detail Max engine. According to OnePlus, this new engine is supposed to improve photos by retaining more detail, having better clarity in complex lighting situations, and providing greater dynamic range. And obviously, without seeing any samples or any true comparisons, it's impossible to tell if this is a good thing for us as the consumer. For OnePlus, it's probably a no-brainer, as it likely cost them quite a bit to license the partnership. This new Detail Max engine was likely co-developed or borrowed a lot of tech from their parent company Oppo, so they're probably leveraging a lot of that R&D and maybe some of their internal algorithms, which might give them a leg up in this regard. On the other hand, this could effectively be a first-gen experience, as it often takes a few years to really fine-tune big changes like this, so as of now, I'd say let's wait and see on how the photos look once the phone is in the flesh. If I had to guess, photos from the OnePlus 15 will look very different from the OnePlus 13, for better or for worse, and we'll just have to wait and see that for ourselves. So those are all the major changes with the OnePlus 15, but we absolutely cannot forget what is arguably an even better release, which is the OnePlus Ace 6 in China, but will likely be known as the OnePlus 15R globally. If you don't know, I've always loved the R series phones. The R series gives the best value for the money and are probably one of the best deals in tech, no questions asked, especially when it goes on sale. Even at full price, it blows pretty much any mid-range device right out of the water, as they typically use last year's flagship chip while also bringing over most of the high-end features. For the OnePlus 15R, we're expected to get the same 165Hz OLED display, the still super powerful Snapdragon 8 Elite chip from last year, and rumor has it there will be an even bigger battery in here than the main OnePlus 15 at an absolutely insane 7,800 milliamp hours. Yes, on the downside, the R series photos typically have subpar cameras, but when the other important bases are covered as well, it's a compromise that I can definitely live with. I'm really excited to see how the 15R turns out in the real world. Right now, the pricing is $899 for the main flagship and $599 for the R series, so hopefully the prices remain the same with this generation. And of course, I should be mentioning all of this will be running right out of the box with OxygenOS 16 based on Android 16. Long story short, the big theme here, as you can guess, is AI. They introduced a few new items like Mindspace with Gemini integration for organizing screenshots and notes, and you also have the ability to ask Gemini to perform tasks using the content saved in Mindspace. We'll see how that goes, as Magic Q did something similar and didn't quite work right still, but there's a lot more alongside the AI features, thankfully, like a relatively decent visual refresh, better lock screen customization like depth effects, more customizable quick settings tiles, and system-wide auto-themed icons. OnePlus is really just taking all the best ideas from the industry on top of building their own existing values like more fluid animation and improving cross-device connectivity like the ability to pair an Apple Watch with a OnePlus phone. And really guys, that is about it for the major biggest changes you need to know about. There's a lot of motion happening for OnePlus right now, and it's giving me mixed feelings across the board. On one hand, we have a phone that seems to be shedding its unique identity for a more mainstream design, but at the same time, we still have that classic OnePlus we all know and love by bringing new tech to the market with that 165Hz refresh rate display, a huge spec bump with the latest flagship specs, which does make this year feel a bit bittersweet. I'm glad to see they're still holding firm to that king of specs energy, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on one for myself. The official Chinese launch is on October 27th, with the global launch rumored for November 13th, so hopefully we won't have to wait too long to see how this plays out. But I am curious to hear what you all think. Is the raw power and that absolutely massive battery worth sacrificing that unique character and alert slider? Are you more interested in the incredible value of the OnePlus 15R instead? Please let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below, as I'm super curious to hear what the Android community is thinking. Until next time, this has been Jordan Floyd from 9to5 Google. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.